You've probably done this. You open your AI assistant, and before you can actually ask it anything useful, you paste in the same wall of context you pasted yesterday. Who you are, what your project is, what tone you want, what to avoid, every single time. Like you're reintroducing yourself to someone with amnesia. I spent weeks doing exactly that across 2 different AI tools before I stopped and asked the obvious question. Why am I doing the setup work over and over when the machine is supposed to remember things for me? That's when I went deep on Google's answer to this, a feature called Gems, and I found something that surprised me. The most useful part isn't the one Google puts in the ads, and the free version does more than they want you to notice. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what Gemini Gems are, how to build one in about 90 seconds, and, because this is bit biased, where the marketing quietly oversells it. By the end, you'll know whether this actually saves you time or just moves your busy work around. We'll start with the thing almost everyone gets wrong about what a gem even is, because once that clicks, the rest is easy. If you've been juggling 5 browser tabs of saved prompts in a Notes app, this one's for you. Drop a comment if that's you. I genuinely want to know I'm not alone. What gems actually are. Here's the cleanest way to think about it. A gem is a saved system prompt with a friendly face on it. You write your instructions once, who the assistant should be, how it should talk, what it should never do, and Gemini packages that into a reusable little expert you can summon whenever you want. Google describes them as custom AI experts for any topic, and that's fair marketing, but the unglamorous engineering reality is more useful to understand. You're not training a new model, you're not building software. You're saving a really good prompt so you never have to retype it. And this is the part people miss. A gem isn't smarter than regular Gemini. It runs on the exact same underlying models. What changes is that it shows up already knowing your context. The intelligence is identical. The convenience is the entire point. Once you internalize that, you stop expecting magic and start using it for what it's genuinely good at, killing repetitive setup. Think of it less like hiring a genius and more like hiring a competent assistant who actually read the onboarding doc. So instead of being the person on the left of that opening shot, you build a small team of these. One that edits your emails in your voice, one that reviews code your way, one that summarizes reports the way your boss likes them. We'll build one live in a minute. But first, what can they actually do? And here's where it gets more interesting than the pitch suggests. Core capabilities. 3 things matter. The first is persistent instructions, that saved prompt we just talked about, which can be a sentence or several detailed paragraphs of rules the gem follows in every chat. The sweet spot, based on what consistently performs well, is somewhere around 500 to 2,000 characters, specific enough to shape behavior, not so bloated it starts contradicting itself. The second capability is where it gets genuinely useful, and it's the one I'd actually pay attention to. You can attach files, up to 10 of them, up to 100 megabytes each, and the gem treats them as its private knowledge base. A brand style guide, your resume, a messy spreadsheet of last quarter's numbers. And here's the detail the ads gloss over, but you should really care about. If that file lives in your Google Drive, the gem pulls the latest version every time you chat. Update the source document, and your gem is instantly working from the new version with 0 re-uploading. For anyone who maintains living documents, that live sync is the actual killer feature, not the chatbot persona. The third capability is built-in tools. Because gems ride on Gemini's current models, they can do the heavy stuff the base app does. Deep research passes, image generation, reasoning over long documents. And you can set a default tool, so a research gem always reaches for deep research, or a design gem always opens the canvas. Wait until you see how this plays out in the demo. Because the default tool setting is the difference between a gem that's handy and one that feels like it's reading your mind. One honest caveat before we build. Gems do not work in Gemini's voice mode yet. If talking to your AI hands-free is core to how you work, that gap matters, and I'll come back to it. Real quick before we move on, a word about who's making this one possible. If you've ever tried one of those Type A prompt, get an app tools, you already know the trap. You get a gorgeous landing page that does absolutely nothing behind it. No real login, no admin panel, nowhere for the data to actually live. AutoCoder.cc is the one that goes further. It generates the front end, the back end, and the database together, so you can build something with real user roles, a client, a provider, an admin, each with their own dashboard and real permissions. And it closes the loop most tools leave open. It connects to payments through Clink, so you bring your own processor, Stripe, Adyen, Checkout.com, and a booking actually becomes a paid booking. On the Pro plan, you can even export the code and deploy to your own domain, so you own what you build. If your idea has more than one type of user and money changing hands somewhere, that's exactly the problem it's built for. Links in the description, go and test it out yourself. Live demo, building a gem. Let's actually build one, and I'll narrate every click so you can pause and follow along. I'm signed into Gemini on the web, and you create and manage gems on the web. That's worth knowing, even though you can use them afterwards on your phone. On the left I click Explore Gems, and then New Gem. That's the whole on-ramp. Now I give it a name. I'm building an email assistant, so I'll call it Email Pro. And in the instructions box, this is the part that determines everything, so I'm specific. I tell it who it is and who I am in the same breath. You are an email assistant for a project manager at a software company. Write concise, friendly, professional emails. Fix grammar silently. Never use corporate filler. Notice I told it what not to do. Gemini responds better to a hard boundary than to a vague hope. Here's a shortcut most people walk right past. If your instructions feel thin, there's a button that lets Gemini rewrite and expand them for you. I'll click it, and watch. It takes my rough 2 lines and structures them into something tighter. I read it, trim the bits I don't want, and keep the rest. 2 minutes of effort, saved forever. Now the optional but powerful step. Under Knowledge, I click Add Files, and attach our team's brand style guide straight from Drive. Because it's a Drive file, remember, it stays synced. Then the step everyone forgets, and then complains the gem didn't save. I click Save. The preview window on the right does not save your gem. Click Save. And now I test it right there in the preview. I ask it to draft a lunch invite, and look, short, friendly, no filler, exactly the rules I set. If it had drifted, I'd just edit the instructions and retest. That loop, write, preview, tweak, is the entire skill. There's no coding, no deployment. If you can write a clear set of expectations for a new hire, you can build a gem. Try pausing here and building one alongside me. Tell me in the comments what your first gem is. Using gems in your workflow. From now on, whenever I start a chat, I just pick Email Pro from my list. I've pinned it to the top so it's one click, and it already knows the job. I paste a rambling draft. It hands back the tightened version in my voice. No context, no re-explaining, no wall of setup text. That's the whole promise delivered. The busy work from our opening shot is just gone. And you stack these. A coding gem that reviews the way your team actually reviews. A research gem that defaults to deep research and summarizes in your boss's preferred format. The mental model that clicked for me came from a developer who put it well. You stop being the person doing every task and start being the manager of a small bench of specialists. That reframe is worth more than any single feature. Who this is for, real use cases. So who actually gets value here? Marketers and copywriters build a gem on the brand voice guide and stop re-explaining tone for every caption. Support teams build one on the product FAQ, so replies come out consistent and on-brand. Developers wire up a code review gem that already knows the house style. Analysts drop a quarterly PDF into a gem's knowledge and ask it to surface the 3 things that changed. Now, a skepticism-first note on the numbers you'll see Google quote, and you will see them. The 4 to 5 times productivity stats, the hours saved per week figures. Treat those as vendor-supplied case studies, not independent measurement. They're real companies saying real things, but they're curated by the company selling the product. And productivity is notoriously slippery to measure. The honest takeaway isn't a specific multiplier. It's narrower and more reliable. If a task is repetitive and context-heavy, a gem removes the resetup tax. That's the benefit you can actually count on. Everything past that, verify for your own workflow before you believe it. Gems versus ChatGPT's. The obvious question, how is this different from ChatGPT's Custom GPTs? They're cousins. Both let regular people build a specialized assistant with no code. The real differences are about ecosystem and reach. Gems live inside Google's world. They read your Drive and docs directly. They lean on Google Search under the hood. And that live file sync is something GPTs don't match. GPTs let you attach more files, up to 20, but they're static snapshots, not synced. On the other side, ChatGPT's GPTs can connect out to external services through actions, calling real-world APIs, which gems still can't do from the interface. So if your dream is a gem that hits your company's database on command, not yet. And here's a correction worth flagging, because a lot of older guides, and honestly an earlier draft of my own notes, got this wrong. People used to say Google had no public gallery to discover or share gems. That's outdated. There's now a public gem gallery with well over 10,000 community-made gems you can browse and add, and you can share your own with Drive-style permissions. What still doesn't exist is a monetized marketplace like the GPT store. You can share, you just can't sell. Small distinction, real difference. What's actually true now? Pricing is where I have to actively correct the record, because almost every article still floating around is quoting numbers. Google blew up at I/O 2026. So here's the current state, verified. Gems are included on the free tier. Anyone with a free Google account can create and use them, which quietly undercuts ChatGPT, where building custom GPTs needs a paid plan. Above free, AI Plus is now $7.99 a month. AI Pro is $19.99, and AI Ultra starts at $99.99, with a higher $200 tier for heavy users. The other change that affects you directly: Google ditched fixed daily prompt limits and moved to a compute-based model, where a heavy video or coding request eats more of your allowance than a quick text reply, and your quota refreshes on a rolling window. The practical upshot: you can absolutely live on the free tier to learn gems and run light tasks. You only climb the ladder when you're hammering it daily. Don't let anyone upsell you on a tier you haven't outgrown yet. If a video like this saves you from an unnecessary subscription, that's a like, isn't it? Privacy, limits, and the honest caveats. Quick word on privacy. Said plainly, Google's position is that your Gemini content stays within your organization and isn't used to train shared models without permission, and in Workspace, the usual protections, encryption, data controls, compliance certifications, carry over to gems. That's a reasonable baseline. But reasonable baseline is not upload anything. The skeptics rule still applies. Don't feed a gem secrets, credentials, or regulated data you wouldn't want surfacing in an output, and follow whatever your own org policy says. And the limitations, because pretending they don't exist would be doing you a disservice. A gem is only as good as its instructions. Vague input, vague output. The model can still be confident and wrong, so anything that matters, you verify. Google itself admits the model can hallucinate. There's no public API to call a gem programmatically, so this doesn't slot into custom automation pipelines. It doesn't work in voice mode yet, as I promised I'd repeat. And on the free tier especially, those compute limits are real and can interrupt you mid-flow. None of that makes gems bad. It makes them a sharp tool with a known edge. Use them where they're strong. Don't ask them to be what they're not. So here's the honest verdict. Gemini gems won't make the AI smarter. What they do is delete the single most tedious part of using AI every day. Re-explaining yourself, and the live drive sync makes them genuinely useful for anyone working off documents that keep changing. The setup is 90 seconds, the cost to start is $0, and the worst case is you learn exactly which of your tasks are repetitive enough to automate. That's a good trade. If you've got a Google account, go to gemini.google.com, open Explore Gems, and build one before you forget. The email assistant we made is the perfect starter. Then come back and tell me in the comments what you built. I read them, and the best ideas usually end up in a follow-up. If this saved you the trouble of figuring it out the hard way, subscribe. I do this skepticism-first breakdown on every AI tool worth your time, so you know what's real before you spend a cent. I'll see you in the next one.